No country wants them. They're the people that nobody wants. And of course the Albanians fought tooth and nail not to let them come back to their original neighborhood. They didn't want gypsies back in their community. And this is the bottom line in Kosovo.
We're on our way to a refugee camp set up by the UN in 1999 for the gypsy community here. We've heard terrible things about the conditions of the camp and the health of the people who are there. So we're just gonna go and check it out.
In simplest terms, the conflict in Kosovo is between the Serbian north and the Albanian south. But it's not that simple. It's not simple at all. There's Serbian enclaves in the south, Albanian pockets in the north, something called Illyrians kind of in the middle, and like the rest of Europe, gypsies pretty much everywhere. The gypsies, or Roma, are nomadic people who've been roaming around Europe since the Roman times. They're in every major country in Europe and are heavily discriminated against everywhere they live. Western Europeans, even supposedly tolerant Dutch types, accuse gypsies of being thieving, lying, welfare cheats, and generally a lot less charming than their depiction in children's cartoons, or that Cher song. But while in most of Europe, gypsy mistreatment starts and ends with making fun of them and not hiring them for jobs, in Kosovo their treatment is 1,000,000 times harsher. To help solve the problem of the gypsy refugees, the UN invited Paul Polanski, an American gypsy expert, to come to Kosovo and help them set up camps.
The EC, Commissioner for Human Rights, issued a written report saying that this was the worst human rights violation in Europe in the past decade.
During the 1999 war in Kosovo, as Albanian and Serbian forces wailed on each other, NATO began a bombing campaign in support of the Albanians, displacing hundreds of thousands of people, including most of the region's gypsies.
Well, I came to Kosovo in 1999 as almost every Western journalist, pro-Albanian. We'd read in the New York Times and heard in the media that the Albanians were being ethnically cleansed by the Serbs. And that's true, but there was another side of the coin, and I sort of put it down to the abused becoming the abuser. The Albanians suffered under the Serbs for many generations, and now they've become the abusers. The UN opened a few IDP camps, internally displaced people camps, and so they needed an expert to advise them, and that's what they brought me to Kosovo to do.
To je bio kao tranzit da se ovdje oporavi za 3-4 dana dok se ne smiri kad su nagli počeli da dolazu Albanci. Prilikom ulaska bili su kao ljudožderi i njima je bilo krivo što nismo mi učestvovali sa njihovom stranom, pa su oni stalno mislili da smo sa Srbima, pa onda zbog toga što im nismo pomagali i počeli da nas kidnapuju, počeli da biju, počeli da isteraju i silivaju to.
It's obviously depressing in here, and it's like an atrocity for people in modern Europe or anywhere to live like this. But it's, you know, everybody's super house proud, and they're taking care of this place. You know, it doesn't smell. It's clean, you know, as much as it can be. Everybody's house is nice. Everybody's house is decorated great. Even the graffiti's kind of like pretty well done.
Živim ja sa 9-članom porodicom. Se nalazimo u skoro 12 godina. Svaka porodica radi, izdržava sa, mislim, privatno izdržava svoje, skupljajući sirovine neke. I radići sa ovim moraju da imaju tu deca naše.
On top of everything, the cramped conditions, the hole in the roof, never mind the fact that if any of the residents step outside the camp, they risk a beatdown. Every single child inside the camp has severe lead poisoning.
There were about 1,800 tents built on the tailing stands of the mines, and the pollution from the smelter drifted right over their camp. Their blood samples were sent to a lab in Belgium, and Belgium said, please retake the tests. There's no such levels in medical literature. And so the tests are retaken and found that these children had the highest lead levels in medical literature. And so the UN medical team said, Dr. Kuchner, you must evacuate these camps. Well, he didn't. And so that's where I broke my relationship with the UN. We still have 40 families on the toxic wasteland. And the other 100 were only moved off in January and December of this past year. 11 years. More than 100 Roma, mainly children, died in these camps on this toxic wasteland.
Evropa da postoji veoma problema tu kod nas Roma. Otrovani naša deca imaju veoma kontaminirano olovo. Ali nivo olova dali su neki tablete, tako da je bilo upadanje olova, pa posle sprečavanje tog nisu dali više tablete i ništa ne produzimaju za tu ljudi.
Gusani's camp is actually the second one the UN set up in the area. The original camp, the one built over an industrial waste site which caused all the lead poisoning, is actually still open. Conditions there are obviously worse than what we saw in Leposavić, and the effects of the lead poisoning are even more drastic.
Jesam Tomas?
Ja pierdolę ścianę. Drago Sara. Okej. Sad momentalno živim sa 7 dece, ja i supruga, 9 člana. Oni su uzeli uzorke krvi deci koji su testirali i da naša deca, nemoj sad, i da naša deca, da ću kažem pravo, imaju veliku nivo olova. I do propasta ljudi koji propadaju. I mnogo ljudi, mnogo dece su već umreli.
Da. Evo, Sara su našli 3 vrste šumu na srcu, ima olovo, nema kiselnika na mozak. Kako da ti kažem, ne daj Bože, može i čepaj da...
Ona je najmlađa.
Ona je najmlađa.
Zub ga boli, stomak, glava, povraća temperaturu non stop. Ona treba, kaže, da se leči, a ovdje da se leči, kaže, nije vazduh.
At least for, okay.
It's for lead poisoning
Okay,
results.
that's
I to je 64.
Every single kid that has been moved off this toxic wasteland has a lead level between 15 micrograms per deciliter and 45 micrograms per deciliter. Brain damage starts at 10 micrograms per deciliter. Every kid is born with irreversible brain damage, and yet they're telling us there's no medical treatment.
And there is the therapy that she's been on too.
Okay. When they stopped giving treatment, did they say why?
Ma ništa, gospođo, to su prekinuli i gotovo više. Samo su završili svoj mandat, to je katastrofa. I zato tražim, gospođo, za treću zemlju, bilo gde da... Iako mi umre, baram znam da u treću zemlju, a ne više ovdje. Nemamo više povjerenja, mi da ostavimo decu ovdje.
Have any of local or international organizations offered you medical help?
Kad su oni rekli za bolje uslove za osterod ovdje, kao kolektivni, da su mnogo organizacije učestvovali ovdje da će da bude za bolje uslove i bolji život. I ništa, gospođo. Tako, ovaj kamp ovdje ne postoji. Nama ne interesuje rat. Mi imamo veliku brigu, rat je našu decu da ozdravimo.
Bilo mi jako drago.
You have to wonder why they put the gypsy camp in a place that was first highly polluted, second surrounded by Albanian villages. Then they withdrew security. So you have to wonder, did they want us wiped out so they wouldn't have to handle a gypsy problem in the future?
As of making this, it's been 12 years since the end of the war in Kosovo. Both temporary refugee camps are still packed, and what talk there was about helping families move back home has trickled to a whisper. The whole deal underscores the fact that, for all its rhetoric, the UN's not primarily a humanitarian organization, but a political one. All this raises the question of whether their intervention in these cases actually does more good than it does harm.
We didn't have AIDS in Kosovo until UN police brought it from Africa.
Jesus.
We didn't have brothels and houses of prostitution until UN police made loans and investments in Kosovo to start the drug trade and the prostitution trade. they're not answerable to anybody. And that's how these things can happen. They have diplomatic immunity. So this is our new crusade, is to try and draw awareness that they're refusing to medically treat these kids. Now, if it was their kids, they would find a medical treatment.
They're gonna push us.
Kids.
I love that.
Vala. Vala. Yeah. Keeping up? This is kind of like the scene in the Goonies where Troy grabs Brent's hand. But I think the roles are a little reversed. Ciao.
Ciao.